Welcome. My name is Christina Ko. I am an executive assistant to Consul General Kim at the Korean Consul General. On behalf of the Korean Consul General in Los Angeles, I would like to thank you for taking your time to join us at this meaningful event. It is astonishing to know that there are many places in the United States that have the legacy of the early Korean independence movement. From San Francisco down to mid-California and to Southern California, we witnessed that there were several hundreds of Korean ancestors who participated in the independence movement by their contribution to establishing the provisional government in Shanghai. The year 2019 marks the centennial of the Korean government in exile. And today, our Korean Consul General is pleased to host dinner and talk concert in honor of the descendants of independence patriots who fervently worked in the areas of foreign affairs, finance, and education. We hope today's talk concert will serve as an opportunity to cherish the memories of our Korean ancestors who showed tremendous endeavors to liberate the country. At this time, to mark the beginning of our tonight's event, it is an honor to invite His Excellency Won-jung Kim, Consul General of the Republic of Korea in Los Angeles, to share a few welcoming words with us.
예, 그러니까 안녕하세요. Very good evening, everyone. What a wonderful occasion today, from early in the morning to the afternoon. Actually, a couple of months ago, I talked to the Consul Shin-young Park in charge of this project. Don't be too ambitious. So, given we are not dealing with the contemporary exciting topic like K-pop and K-drama, but we are dealing with a historic incident which happened a century ago. But yesterday I knew the program will start early in the morning from 8:30, so I presumed it's going to be a dull and long day. But it proved to be long, So I learned really a whole bunch of historic facts I haven't known, and I was really amazed by the scholarly presentation from Dr. Robinson to Dr. Joy Kim. It was really the meaningful day, and having said that, we are having the last occasion today, which is dinner and talk concert in honor of descendant of a Korean independent patriot. So I think we are ready to hear and share the memories of our patriotic pioneers, directly from their descendant, from Korea and from California and from across the US. So I think we are ready to have an enjoyable dinner together. Thank you. 감사합니다.
Now to get some insights into tonight's topic, I would like to call for Consul Shin-young Park to introduce us into the rest of tonight's event.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. 안녕하십니까? Okay, as introduced, my name is Shin-young Park. I'm in charge of education at the Korean Consulate. Okay, I feel like I'm kind of feel guilty because, I'm giving too much hard time to my colleagues at the back. They were working from 8 to practically 10 to 9. So Okay. It is a great honor and privilege to host this event. This year, as my Consul General said, commemorates the 100th year of March 3rd, March 1st movement and Korean Provisional Government. Republic of Korea Consulate General prepared some project to commemorate the event in honor of the descendants of independence pioneers. Okay, tonight the topic is fatherland, patriots, and memories. So I will give you a real introduction about centennial commemorating events. Okay, I prepared some slides, say snapshots of Korean Provisional Government history. There are 4 photos on the above and 4 photos below. As you see, the very first on the left-hand side is the official receipt of head tax. Next is our beloved independence pioneer, Dr. Kim Gyu-sik and Mr. Song Hun-ju. And next is the letter sent by Dr. Syngman Lee, the former president. And then next is the resolution by the US Congress. And at the back, there are several pioneers, and they are celebrating that Korean community in the United States. On the next letter is, I might introduce a little bit later. And then the photo next is, there are 3 gentlemen, Dr. Kim Gyu-sik, and Dr. Syngman Lee, and Dr. Song Hun-ju. As you might introduce, there are several descendants tonight. They are descendants of those pioneers. On the very right-hand side below is a formal document that the Emperor of Japan surrendered, in 1945. Okay, this is. Could you take a look at their faces? They are very serious. And the first 3 is Mr. Song Hun-ju. Right in the middle is Dr. Syngman Lee, and on the right-hand side, Dr. Kim Gyu-sik. And sorry, I cannot memorize. And I like to give you a short quiz. Our document speaks a lot of stories. This is a simple letter. It's addressed to Mr. Song Hun-ju, written by Dr. Philip Jason. In the middle of the letter, we have Dr. Kim Gyu-sik. So in the United States and the Southern California, we have 100,000 of copies of this document. And it's introduced in the USC, the library archives. So guess how many patriots are involved? When? In 1920, exactly 100 years ago, right? Then from whom to whom and what happened? So I think it is our role, it's our responsibility to study and what their ancestors were really hoping for. Okay, tonight there are so many ancestors, but for convenience, we selected those patriots in the field of education, foreign affairs, and financing. So let me present by Dr. Philip Jason. So for your information, I just decided the order based on their birth date. So Dr. Philip Jason is the oldest among the 6. Okay, and Dr. Jason's son graduated from Keio University and George Washington University. His major accomplishments was government official during Joseon Dynasty. He was a physician, medical doctor. He was a journalist, poet, and writer. There are so many other things he did. He published he had a tremendous role to publish 독립신문, and he served as advisor for U.S. military regime. Now, Mr. An Chang-ho, he was born in 1878. We have the the son of Mr. An Chang-ho right there. Okay. His major accomplishments: educator, politician, social activist. He established Hungsadan and Korean National Association. He also established Daesung Academy in Pyongyang, Korea. Now, Mr. Song Won-ju, born in 1880, he graduated from Roanoke College and Princeton University. Could you imagine, back in early 1900, he graduated from Princeton in year 1907 or 6. And he was pastor and educator, independent activist. He was appointed to delegate to Hague Conference as a translator and the United Nations Conference, though he was not able to participate. And he served as a senior finance officer for Korean Provisional Government in the United States. Next, could you guess who he is? He is Dr. Kim Gyu-sik. No, there are several names of Dr. Kim Gyu-sik. He preferred use K-I-M-M and K-I-U-S-I-C. And he's from Roanoke College and Princeton University. He got master's in English language and literature. So we had a speaker this morning. He is genius. He spoke 5 or 6 languages fluent. And he was a diplomat, an educator, and politician. He served as of now, we can say, the Minister of Education, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and Deputy Chairman for Transitional Government, and appointed to head our delegation Paris Peace Conference, so he was not able to attend. Next, Mr. Park Yong-hee, he did not receive any merit or order of merit, but he made a substantial contribution to independence movement. He graduated from Tokyo Imperial University, and he was an educator, journalist, and philanthropist. And he's founding member of 동아일보 and served the journal of publishers called Taeguk Academic Journal. And Chung Han-kyung, we have a descendant tonight, and he's from Northwestern University and American University, the same thing, early 1900. And he was an educator, journalist, politician, and independence activist. He organized Philadelphia Freedom League movement and appointed the delegate to Paris Peace Conference, though he was not able to attend. Okay, tonight is a short talk concert. So our tonight event will be moderated by Dr. Edward Park. And then I just wanted to present, we are going to think about those ancestors. I know there are many ancestors other than those 6 ancestors. Okay, this ends my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Consul Park, for opening up with the introduction. At this moment, I would like to invite the ensemble performance. As you were introduced in the beginning, we have 4 amazing artists who prepared this ensemble performance for the celebration of tonight's event. They're coming in right now. And the dinner will be served after the performance. Please give them a round of applause. We have Ms. Hye-sung Nam and Ms. Kyung-eun Song for violin, Ms. Ju-won Hong for cello, and Ms. Kyung-eun Kim for piano. Please sit back and enjoy. The floor is yours.
It was in my mentor's not in my scenario, but I may have to go to confession tonight, right after the event, because I gave 6 music to them in 2 weeks short notice. Isn't it beautiful? Okay, the first 3 before the event was Korean Gungangsan. I'm missing the gold and diamond mountains. I forgot. And these 3 is 섬지박이, and it's a beautiful cello sound, and green sleeves, fantasy on green sleeves. So this is a concert, so I just included some of the music. I hope you enjoyed it. Okay.
Now you've waited very long. Finally, we have dinner now. And after dinner, we will resume with the talk show moderated by Dr. Edward Park from Loyola Marymount. Please enjoy the dinner, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we are going to start our talk concert. Okay, I would appreciate if you remain in silence. Thank you.
Great. Good evening, everybody. My name is Edward Park, and I'm a professor at Loyola Marymount University. And it's just my great privilege to be moderating this discussion. Here in Los Angeles, I think we sort of take it for granted that we are in the middle. We're at the center of things. And I think there are sort of 2 centers that are implicated when we think about the centennial of the March 1st movement. For those of us who participated in the day's event, we were invited to go to An Chang-ho's house, which serves as Center for Korean Studies Institute here at the USC campus. From An Chang-ho's house, as we walk in the shadow of the Grand Wilshire Center in downtown, the glimmering skyscraper, to this hotel, it occurred to me that we walked 100 years of history, right? And you know, we get to live in the largest Koreatown in the world outside of Korea. We get to have treats like Blackpink doing their concert at Coachella, or BTS, who's about to come to Rose Bowl and sell out 2 shows, and feel like that we are indeed in the middle of the Korean diaspora. Well, 100 years ago, as Catherine Kim showed us through her remarkable presentation, Los Angeles was the epicenter of a different kind of Korea. Korea that was under Japanese colonization, a Korean community that was filled with the fervor of an independence movement, of a people who wanted to take the control of their destiny into their own hands. And so it is as that center 100 years ago, we have 6 amazing and wonderful panelists at the table here tonight. The 6 participants of our concert talk are descendants of Korean independence movement luminaries. And they will share with us the connection that they have to their Korean activist ancestors, the kind of long-term sort of vantage point they have about the Korean American experience, as well as share with us their vignettes of life in the Korean American community. So I will, each of the presenters have been asked to limit their remarks to 10 minutes. They've been provided with prompts and questions for them to respond to. And I'm just so eager to hear about what they have to say. But in the order immediately to my left is Mr. Tong Sun Seol. Next to him is Dr. Soo Ok Kim. Next to her is Mr. Dong Kim. Next is somebody who doesn't need much introduction here in Los Angeles, Ralph An. Next to Mr. An is Mr. Lee DeYoung, and finally Dr. Sunmin Park. Right, and so it is with great pleasure I turn over the mic over to our speakers. Thank you so much.
I think I should make my remarks with begging for your understanding for two reasons. Number one, I just returned from a very short visit to Korea. As a matter of fact, I landed at LAX about 3 hours ago, and I'm still groggy. And I was just handed over these suggestions for topics, and I'm not completely, it's a shock to me anyway. So I don't know what music I'm going to give you for my part of the concert. I thought, because today's function was in commemoration or of the centennial of the March 1st movement, I thought it has to do March 1st movement, and I prepared a little bit about the March 1st movement, what happened in the United States. But now it's a complete different topic, so I don't know what I'm going to talk about it. So you have to understand. Anyway, I'd like to thank the USC, particularly the Korean Heritage Library and Korean General Consulate in Los Angeles for putting up this concert and inviting us to take a part. As I said, actually my talk about what happened in Philadelphia in the United States, I assume that most of you know what happened in Korea 100 years ago, 3.1운동, but not many people know about what happened in the United States in connection with or because of the March 1st movement. And that was a topic that I was going to cover for some length, but then I'm limited to 10 minutes, and I have already spent, 5 minutes? But in Korea, the March 1st movement occurred, of course, March 1, 1919. Outside of Korea, there are two big events that occurred because of or a connection with March 1st movement. One is, of course, Shanghai, which was April 11th when the Korean Provisional Government was established. 3 days later, in the United States, in Philadelphia, there was a first Korean Congress. The name in Korean, it's kind of a little significant, so it was called the 제1차 한인회의, 대한인 총대표회의, 최초의 한국회의, 한인자유대회. Notice that we don't have any Joseon at all. It's all Hanin. It's because Joseon, represented by Yi Dynasty, has disappeared. Now, we are talking about here what we are going to do, what kind of government, what kind of system, what kind of philosophy are we to set up a new Korea? And that's what happened 3 days, April 14th through 16th in Philadelphia. Why in Philadelphia, of all places? After all, there are only a few Koreans living, and there are 6 people in Pennsylvania at the time, and about 200 people in 700 people in California, and 20 people in New Jersey at the time. But why? Why in Philadelphia? 2 very important reasons. Number one, 200 years before First Korean Congress, there were 2 Continental Congress which laid the foundation for the United States. The founding fathers met in 1774 and 1775 to establish the United States of America, okay? So 200 years later, we had our own first Korean Congress in the city of brotherly love. Okay, second reason why it was held, it was the Philadelphia at the time was home and workplace for Philip Jason, which is the anglicized name of Sojapil. Well, now I have a little bit of connection with what I'm talking about because today's concert is about Samil-Undong. Anyway, so he lived and worked in Philadelphia, and he assembled 150 Korean leaders at the time. And they got together, and they laid the foundation. And let me just go through some things that they have decided at the Korean Congress. One, the new government is going to be democratic republic form of government. Remember, the Yi dynasty is gone, no more, but New Korea is going to be democratic republic form of government. And this is the first time the word republic was used in that conference. It's going to be central government composed of National Assembly, 국회, and executive branch. And the president will be elected by 국회. But because the democracy depends upon the educated mass, grassroots, they said for 10 years they are going to have a centralized power in president. But after 10 years, then they will have a more generalized form of government in 군 and 도, who will elect the National Assembly. And the executive branch will consist of president, vice president, cabinet officers who carry out all the laws made by national legislature. And then, of course, they talk about freedom of the press, freedom of the religion, what have you. Who attended that meeting? People like 이승만, 임병직, 장택상, 조병옥, you name. These people became who's who of the Republic of Korea. And the name I was in order of seniority, just like I think they took that seniority in mind to list, or even the panel here. Anyway, I have prepared a no, but then I'm not going to take my fellow panelists' time, so that's it.
그냥 이대로 안 해도 되죠? 그냥 제가 하는 대로. 안녕하세요. 저는 김규식 선생님 손녀 김수옥입니다. 이번에 LA의 청영사관에서 초대해 주셔서 이 자리에 함께 하게 됐습니다. 감사합니다. 이거 통역해야 되는가요?
I was asked a few minutes ago to do the honors of interpreting Dr. Kim's remarks, and so I'll do the best I can. I'm not sure I'm actually the best person to do this, but I just actually forgot what you said. But I think she said that I am Kim Soo-ok, and I'm the granddaughter of Kim Gyu-sik.
3.1 운동 100주년하고 임시정부 수립 100주년을 기념해서 여기 LA에서 유가족을 대표해서 인사말을 드리게 돼서 매우 기쁩니다.
I am very happy to be one of the people who is up here on the panel as a descendant, one of the descendants for this occasion, celebrating the 100th anniversary of the March 1st movement and the Korean Provisional Government establishment as well.
이 미국에서 저희 할아버지가 계셨던 곳인데 여기 오랜 시간이 지났지만 이런 곳에 와서 할아버지 모습이 떠오르고 또 혹시 납북되시지 않고 오래 살아 계셨더라면 개인적으로나 국가적으로나 더 많은 일을 하셨을 거라고 생각하면서 아쉬워합니다.
I come here with a sense of regret that my grandfather could not do more. He was taken up to North Korea at the beginning of the Korean War, where he died. And before then, among his many activities, he did come to the United States and spend some time here. And so I, as his granddaughter, coming to this kind of occasion in the United States is very meaningful in that sense.
할아버지 김규식 선생님은 이제 미국 유학 후 귀국해서 YMCA하고 세문안교회 같은 데서 계몽운동 하셨고 경신학교에서 또 교감으로 재직하시면서 일제한테 나라를 뺏긴 다음에 중국으로 망명하셨습니다.
Kim Gyu-sik, after he studied in the United States, returned to Korea, where he worked as, among other things, a school teacher. And after the Japanese colonization of Korea, he eventually had to leave Korea.
1919년 1월에 파리 강화회의가 시작됐을 때 저희 할아버지는 신한청년단 대표로 파리 강화회에 가시면서 우리나라가 그때는 지도상에 보더라도 쌀알 만큼 조그맣고 아는 사람들이 별로 없고 그러니까 가서 내가 파리를 가서 일을 해도 누구 한 사람 알아줄 사람도 없고 그런 골기대회 같은 거를 해야지만 그 뒷받침이 된다. 그래서 동기부여를 해서 그 일제의 만행을 폭로하고 대한민국 청원서를 제출하고 그런 외교 활동을 하셨습니다.
This is somewhat ridiculous that this is going on. Kim Gyu-sik, among his most celebrated accomplishments was that he was a representative of the Korean Provisional Government, and he went to the Paris Peace Conference in 1919, and his motivation was to expose the crimes committed by the Japanese rule in Korea, and to do everything he could to reveal the facts so that eventually this will lead to Korea's independence.
임시정부의 초대 외무총장, 국무위원, 부주석을 역임하면서 독립운동을 지도하시고 해방 후에는 극좌의 첨예한 대립과 갈등을 지향하면서 좌우 합작운동을 전개하고 남북 협상을 했습니다.
So Kim Gyu-sik was the first foreign minister of the Korean Provisional Government. He had some other positions as well. And so his specialty was to try to bring people together through diplomatic activity And this showed after liberation in 1945, in that very important period from 45 to 1950, he worked tirelessly to overcome the confrontation between the far right and the far left in South Korea in order to pursue this moderate middle ground, this kind of compromising position and movement to achieve a political solution in South Korea.
할아버지는 뛰어난 정세 판단과 해박한 지식은 중국과 일본, 미국과 일본 전쟁을 예견을 했고 극동 문제가 일본이 전쟁에 들어가기 전에는 해결되기 어렵다고 내다보면서 독립운동을 지도하였습니다.
So he was able to anticipate some of the difficulties in dealing with the East Asian situation at that time in terms of the confrontations between Japan and China and with the US as well. And he thought that a solution as it stood at that time, if I understood what she said correctly, was going to be very difficult. And so this was part of the foresight that he had at the time in his activities.
망명기에는 틈틈이 학구의 열정으로 상해 복단대학, 천진 북양대학, 남경 중앙정치학원, 사천대학 등에서 중국의 명문대학에서 강의를 하였습니다.
So in his exile period, he was in China for a while, and there he taught at various schools, including some very prestigious schools as well.
우리 독립운동의 무성자 중에서 저희 할아버지만큼 명문대 교수로 또 셰익스피어 연구에 능통한 영문학자로서 인정받고 활동할 만큼 문사, 철 그리고 외교력을 겸비한 지도자는 거의 없었습니다.
He was distinctive in his capacity to do various things as a professor, as a teacher. He was also a Shakespearean scholar of some kind as well. And so I believe that there's really nobody else who can compare to him in that regard among the independence figures whom we are celebrating today. The last part was just me, actually.
그렇다고 문약한 지도자도 아니었습니다. 늘 짚고 다니시던 지팡이로 미 군정사령관 하지의 책상을 두드리며 분노를 터뜨릴 만큼 혹이 있는 혁명가였습니다. 그때 하지가 권총을 빼들었다는 비하가 전해집니다. 권총.
But he wasn't merely this kind of wishy-washy scholar, as a wishy-washy scholar, I'm telling you this. In fact, in the post-45 period, he would take his cane and he would knock on the door of General Hodge, the American military commander of the South Korean occupation. And apparently he even carried a gun and had the gun be taken away from him.
할아버지 우사 선생께서 조국의 독립을 위해 거쳤던 발걸음은 중국, 만주, 몽골, 프랑스, 미국, 소련에 이르렀으며 해방 전국 혼동기에는 김구, 이승만과 더불어 삼형수의 한 사람으로 추앙되고 국민의 존경과 기대를 한 몸에 받았습니다. 너무 길어요?
Yeah, 너무 깁니다. So I think what she was trying to say is that he, again, in the 1945 to 50 period, this very difficult period, he worked tirelessly to achieve some kind of peaceful solution. He worked together with Kim Gu and Syngman Rhee, for example, the other two major figures in the right wing of the political setting at that time. Yeah.
69세의 생애는 온통 조국 통일과 통일정부 수립을 위해 바친 고난의 길이었고 불꽃 같은 삶과 태산과 같은 위협이 독립운동사와 해방 전국 연구사에서 소수 연구자들 외에는 일반적으로 알려지지 않고 갈수록 망각되고 있는 것이 너무 안타깝습니다.
So she said it's really regretful that his work behind the scenes and to achieve some kind of peaceful solution in Southern Korea at that time has been overlooked, and it's not part of the common perception of Kim Gyu-sik's activities at this time. Again, in a very difficult set of circumstances after liberation.
그런 일이 타협 노선보다는 극단주의를 선호하는 우리 국민성에도 일단이 있을 거라고 생각합니다.
And I think one reason is because our people have this character, they tend to go toward the extremes instead of pursuing a kind of compromising solution. And so that's one reason I think Kim Gyu-sik's other activities have been overlooked.
저희 할아버지 김규식 선생은 평생 정도를 당당하게 걸었고 그가 뿌린 합리적이고 온전한 통일정부 수립 노선은 남북화의 협력의 씨앗이 되고 전국적으로 우리 민족이 가야 할 방향이고 현실적인 과제가 되고 있습니다.
So one lesson that we can all take from his activities to try to bring about some kind of unified political solution in this 45 to 50 period that he ultimately did not succeed in, but he tried very hard to resist this reality of a north-south division, is that we can take his activities as a lesson to pursue in the future as well.
저에겐 한 가지 소원이 있습니다. 그것은 할아버지께서 1945년 환국하셔서 납북되실 때까지 사셨던 삼청장이 옛 모습대로 복원돼서 국민들에게 공개되는 것입니다. 삼청장. 저희 할아버지 사셨던 곳이요.
Okay, so
삼청장? 아, 해방되고 납북될 때까지니까 45년에서 50년.
그 당시 사셨던
예.
그 집이요. Yeah. So she wants the house that I didn't know the name for, that he lived in between 45 and 50. So before he was captured and taken by the North Korean forces at the beginning of the Korean War, she would like that house to be preserved and displayed.
할아버지는 납북당하셔서 그 만포진 부근에서 돌아가셨는데 그 묘가 평양에 있어요. 그래서 찾아가지도 못하고 그래서 그 할아버지의 채취가 남아 있는 삼청장을 언제든지 찾아가고 싶은 마음입니다.
Yeah, so we don't know where exactly he is. He apparently is buried in Pyongyang, but I have never been able to, of course, go and visit his grave in Pyongyang. And so the remains or the memory that that house contains, that would be the extent to which we can revisit him.
저희 할아버지 인물도 젊어서는 아주 근사하셨고 잘생기셔서 그런 분의 손녀라는 것이 너무 자랑스럽고 주셨던 큰 사랑에 감사하며 살고 있습니다.
So my grandfather was a very good-looking man, and I, as the granddaughter of this good-looking man, I'm very grateful, I guess, to receive his genes. And I'm grateful also, and I'm proud of that, the way I live today.
조국의 독립이 일생이고 전부고 목숨이었던 할아버지를 기억해 주시고 그 생애와 사상과 업적을 기리기 위해 애쓰시는 여러분들이 계셔서 정말 다행이고 우리 모두 100년 전의 역사를 기억하고 다음 100년을 준비하는 후손들이 되었으면 좋겠습니다. 감사합니다.
So I would like to close by saying that I hope that we can all remember his struggle to achieve Korea's independence and his sacrifices, and that in this occasion to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the start of the Korean independence movement, that over the next 100 years as well, that we follow the lessons that he provided us. Thank you.
Thank you to Kyungmoon for such a wonderful job of translating.
My name is Dong K. Kim. I'm from Santa Cruz, California. I'm maternal grandson of patriot Song Hun-ju. I really appreciate to attend this very well-planned event to honor those patriots and their descendants. And for that, I'd like to extend my sincere appreciation to Consul Park Sin-young. She really worked very hard to get this event together. And then her effort was supported by Consul General Kim Wan-jung and his wife. I really extend my appreciation as well. Yeah. I thought it might be in order to summarize some of my grandfather's activity for the country. So please bear with me. So some of them I prepared. I will make it as short as possible. Yeah. He came to this country in year 1904. He landed in Hawaii. The 3 years he was there, he was creating a small elementary school to teaching the children of the descendants from Korean immigrant. I was told those days most of the immigrants are farmers working at the sugarcane. After that, he moved to mainland to register at the Roanoke College in Roanoke, Virginia. When he was finishing up his first year, he was directed by Emperor Kojong's government with the passport to travel. About 8 months prior to International Peace Conference in Hague, year 1907. So he was already preparing for this meeting about 10 months prior. He finally went to Hague and joined the 3 delegates, Lee Sang-sol and Lee Wei-jung and Lee Jun, 3 delegates. And because of the Japanese intervention, the attempt trying to attend the meeting was kind of denied. And Lee Jun also was passed away, so he took the remaining 2 delegates and traveled all of the European countries for the diplomatic mission. And then he also came to the United States, tried to meet the President of the United States, which was not successful. But he spent almost 6.5 years to do this diplomatic mission with those people. And those 2 delegates returned to Korea, and he came back to Roanoke College. So he finished Roanoke College, I think it was about 1914. And then after that, he went to the Princeton University for his master's degree. He was accepted as a candidate for PhD, but he decided to pursue to go to Princeton Seminary School to be the priest. Yeah. When he finished there, and he went back to Hawaii, and he became a pastor, I was told, for about 3 years. Thereafter, around year 1910, about year 1919, he was called by President Seungman Lee to join to Korean Commission to America and Europe for the Republic of Korea. That is the name of that organization. And the 3 members was selected, which is Dr. Kim Ki-shik, and my grandfather, and another gentleman's name is Mr. Lee. I do not recall his first name. And one more thing I'd like to mention is Dr. Ki-shik Kim and my grandfather was not only classmates, but they were kind of bonded brothers. They lived together at the dormitory, and they conducted the independent activities together until this organization was parted due to some difficulties among 3 peoples. Anyway, 1934, after that, he moved to Hawaii, and Dr. Ki-shik Kim moved to China. And his activity was continued for the independence of our country. But 1934, he was appointed by the exiled government in China as a finance minister for 4th district, which covers, I was told, California as well as West Coast of the United States. So he was successfully issuing collecting the donations from the Korean people, and he was successfully raised a lot of money, and he was able to send us corrected money to the exiled government in China for their effort. Thereafter, I was told there are so many different organizations representing different sectors of the independent movement, but it was one of the 3 gentlemen get together and try to gather all the differences and create the new Korean association, Korean National Association. And he told me when I was here, took me down there to the building in Jefferson Boulevard a couple times and showed me when we needed to have some delegate meetings, it was very difficult to find the places to conduct the meeting. And there's still some racial segregations existed at that time. So he decided to raise the capital and buy the land and build our own building. That became a Korean National Association building on Jefferson Boulevard. He headed that organization 3 times by election, but he served 2 terms, and 1 term he yielded to Mr. Kim Ho, I was told. Thereafter, he was kind of one of the leaders, leading those Korean National Associations. And 1941, when the World War II is getting started, he is one of the gentlemen got together to create a Korean Tiger troops on the National Guard, I was told. And he put a lot of effort to make that organization keep going. In year 1943, he was appointed as a commissioner by the Korean government in exile to carry out the diplomatic mission in the United States. At the time, he served as a chairman of the Korean National Association. As World War II draws to the close, my grandfather was appointed by the Korean government in exile as one of the 3 delegates to attend the United Nations Conference in San Francisco as a I'm almost done. Thank you very much for reminding me. But anyway, somehow he was not able to return to Korea like any other colleagues, and he stayed in California until he passed away. I have the sadness to tell you, he's highly educated, very respectable gentleman, but when he died very poor. I feel very bad about that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ralph Hahn, and I'm probably the oldest authority on the Los Angeles Korean community. I've lived here all my life, 92 years, except for 3 years during World War II when I was in the Navy. So I am an authority on the Los Angeles Korean American community. And Dr. Kim, I know Kim Husik was a very handsome man. And folks told me that my father was a very handsome man. But then they used to ask me, then, why are you so ugly? But anyway, that's the way it went. So I am the son of Tosan An Chang-ho. Now, Tosan An Chang-ho was at the time the Declaration of Independence took place, he was head of the North American Kunminhe, the Korean National Association. So immediately, all the patriotic ancestors knew that they had to form the provisional government. And it was his organization, the Korean National Association, that went through California and raised funds to start the provisional government. And indeed, Father went over with the money, and he was met in Hong Kong by Reverend DeYoung, whose grandson Doug is here tonight. And they went and proceeded to organize the provisional government in Shanghai. So it was Koreans here in California that put up the first money to get the provisional government started. And they started with the headquarters. And Father was the temporary premier of the provisional government. He did not want to take a leadership position, but temporarily he took the position to get it started. And so they opened up the office, and it happened to be that the head of security for that office was Kim Gu. So that's where he started, and it started a provisional government, and it was full of challenges. You had people, goodwill people coming from all over, coming from Vladivostok, Siberia, Manchuria, Shanghai, Seoul, Korea, wanting a sovereign government, but they all had different ideas. So the challenge was to keep the government united. So this was our father's challenge, to keep it united. And so I have to admit, confess, I never saw my father. I was the youngest of 5 children. When Father came back in 1920 to raise patriotic awareness of Korean exiles here in the United States, I was conceived. And, and when it was time for him to go back, Mother didn't tell him that I was conceived because she did not want to deter him from going back to carrying on his work for the provisional government. But when he went out to sea about 600 miles, they developed engine trouble, so they had to come back to San Francisco to fix the engines. So my brother Philip, my mother went up and met, and she finally told him that I was coming. So I knew of my father through my parents, through my siblings, but most of all, I learned from father's friends, the Hungsadon here in Los Angeles. They're the ones that told me about what his motives were, what he wanted to do. And it was the Hungsadon that I have to say that kept the Kungminhe going, the KNA going. And in essence, it was the Kungminhe, the KNA, that kept the provisional government going. During the Depression, there was a worldwide depression, and the provisional government was transferring from place to place because the Japanese were overrunning China. And the other Korean communities were suffering from the depression so badly that their funds were very limited. But it was the Hungsadon and the Kungminhe here. We had patriotic Koreans who had small businesses who kept the funds going to the provisional government. Some historians say that if it weren't for the Hungsadon and the Kungminhe, the provisional government might not have survived. So in essence, since the provisional government was the cornerstone of the Republic of Korea, I am very proud to say that the KNA and the Hungsadon were from right here in Los Angeles. Now, one of the questions was, do I learn anything about my father? I learn all the time. But I was in Korea this last week, and what I learned mostly, I went to the Sudaman prison, and father had been there twice, one for 4 years, one for 2 years. And I saw all the instruments of torture that the Japanese Empire were using on the prisoners. It's then I got a greater insight of what my father's work was all about. Because he had been in and out of prison about 8 times carrying on the independence work. And he always wrote home to his wife, I'm being treated well. But when I saw that prison, I knew that was not true. And I had a moment of breakdown there for a while until a group of school children came up, and they had been told that I was the son of Tosan Han Chang-ho, and they came to give me a cheer. So that brought my series back up, and I want to thank you all for honoring our great ancestors of 100 years ago. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lee DeYoung, and I am the son of Dr. Henry DeYoung, and his pen name was Henry Chung. Korean name was Chung Han Gyang. I am probably the least qualified of anyone in this room to talk about Korean history. However, I can give you some insight about my father and what he thought and his personal life relative to the Korean independence movement that I think you'll find interesting because it's never been told before. Before I start, I want to thank Dr. Ken Klein and Joy Kim. Without them, all of this information about my father would be in some storage unit somewhere and not on the digital archives where everyone can access them, and literally hundreds, maybe thousands of pictures, documents, and correspondences. And I also want to thank Tom Byun. I don't think Tom's still here, but without Tom Byun and K.W. Lee, who encouraged me to be interested in Korean history and my father's role in it, I would not have gotten to know Ken and Joy and been involved and be here tonight. So what I want to do is maybe just give a quick vignette about my father's life and how he got here and how he positioned himself as one of the Korean Patriot Fathers. and then give you a couple of personal insights, the many hours I spent with him. But my father immigrated from Korea in 1905. He was 14 years old. He came over by himself, stepped off the docks in San Francisco, didn't speak any English. Of course, he did speak Japanese and Mandarin Chinese besides Korean. And he had no money, didn't know anyone. Worked in the kitchens until he made enough money to buy a train ticket down to Los Angeles, and he was so homesick, he was ready to go back to Korea. But Ralph, it's because of your dad. He met An Chang-ho, and An Chang-ho convinced him to stay in America. He said he recognized that he was bright, and he was a good public speaker even then, and he had writing skills, and said, you have an obligation to stay here in America and fight for the cause of Korea. So that's what he did. He went to Kearney, Nebraska, and lived with the George Roby family and educated himself. He saved enough money to buy a little photography shop. And everybody who came to get a picture taken, he made them give him an English lesson. He became very fluent. And he excelled academically. He was a valedictorian and of his high school, and went to University of Nebraska, Northwestern, and got his PhD at American University in international law. And that served him well when he helped with the treaties for Korea. And through all of these things that he did, he worked for the Korean Commission for most of his life while it was still going. And he was a spokesperson. He gave hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of lectures for the cause of Korea. He was very prolific in what he wrote in periodicals. He wrote many, many books. Probably his most famous is The Russians Come to Korea. But through all of this, I want to share with you some things who he was as a man, and some things that he regretted. And I can share these things with you since I'm the last of the Mohicans. I'm the last of our families, no one else alive, and all of my family has passed away, except for the grandchildren and great-grandchildren. They're 1/8 Korean. They've got blonde hair, blue eyes, and they don't know anything about Korean. But anyway, my father was very loyal to Syngman Rhee. He, and I believe this is right, Syngman Rhee was the first Korean to get his PhD from Princeton. My father, I think, was the second to get his from American University. But he worked closely with him, and there were a couple of things that he told me that I'd like to share with you. And most everything I say can be vetted through the digital library. You can look it up, but these things you can't look up. But when he was designated to go to the Paris Peace Conference, he was blocked by the American government, and he took that personally, and he thought that was a failure on his part. And this was something that I still really can't believe it, but my sister and I were talking with him, and he told us at one time in a very lucid moment that he thought his life was a failure because after the Korean War, Syngman Rhee had told him to go to Japan and work with the Allies, and it was his job to try to keep Korea from being a divided country. Well, how does someone do that? It's like asking somebody to part the Red Sea. So he felt like he didn't really do his job well enough, and he failed in that aspect. And it was other things. When Syngman Rhee's effigy was being dragged to the streets of Seoul, well, Syngman Rhee contacted him, and again, he told this to just my sister and I, and asked my father if he would come back to Korea, and Syngman Rhee would do what he could to see if he could succeed him. And my father said absolutely not, because he knew he wouldn't live very long if he did that. But through all of these things that he did, he felt like everything he did was never measured up. And it took its toll on us as kids. And it was, and I think I've always thought it's too bad. He never really realized what he did. And Mrs. Park sent us some questions, and one of them I think is a great question. It says, number 9, if he were alive today, what would you like to ask him or tell him? And I would tell him this. If you were upstairs and did you see those pictures outside of the lecture hall? There was one where it had the provisional government of Shanghai, and my father sitting in the front row. And he's like the 17-year-old boy, and he's the youngest member. And if he were here, if he was that 17-year-old boy, and here I am, sort of towards the end of my life, and talking to him, I would tell him three things. First, live in gratitude. Just be so grateful that you have been given this task. It's not going to be easy, probably the hardest thing you can ever do, but you didn't choose it. It was chosen for you, and so be grateful for that. And then secondly, be in the moment. Understand that you are in the middle of doing something that has never been done before. Building a nation. I mean, Korea in one generation is in the top 10 in the world economically, and it's an incredible success story. He was a part of that, as is everybody here at this table and all of you somehow in this room. And he never realized that. So be in the moment. And then third, embrace the outcome. Whatever you did, it was enough. You did the best you could with what you had. And the collateral damage from what he felt was felt by us as kids. I shared this with Ken and Joy, and I'll share it with you. He was so afraid of failure for his children that he set the bar so high that none of us could actually ever reach it. And he actually said this, that if you're a DeYoung male, you're not a part of the family unless you have two things, at least as a prerequisite. One, that you have a PhD, and the second, that you're listed in the who's who of America, because my father was that. Well, my brothers complied, but me, I just wanted to do sports. I'm a tennis pro. That's what I do for a living. I played and I teach, and the last thing I wanted was academics. And you can imagine what my father thought about that. And so, one other time, my youngest brother, who was very accomplished, he was an astrophysicist and did a great deal of contribution in that field, and he once turned down a Rhodes Scholarship because he was very idealistic about it. And he told my father, and he thought that he would be proud because it was between him and another person from the Air Force Academy, and it came down to one question, and he knew what they wanted to hear. The question was, do you think Red China should be admitted to the UN? And they wanted to hear no, and my brother said yes. And he knew that he was going to lose it, but that's why he did it, because of his idealism. And my father just had a conniption. Now, my sister, it didn't matter, My sister, her job was to be beautiful and make the family look good. So, but the boys, it made a difference. So, if we can do those three things, there isn't anybody in this room whose story isn't incredible. We can make a Hollywood movie out of every person's story at this table and in this room. And I just felt like if he could have understood what he did in his role, he wasn't a king, he was a kingmaker, in what he did in forming a nation and making this incredible success story, which is Korea, that was enough. And I'm very proud to be a very small part of it. Thank you very much.
안녕하세요. 저는 박선민이라고 하고요. 박용희 선생님의 증손녀 됩니다. 예.
I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm Bak Sun-min. I am the great-granddaughter of Bak Yong-hee.
여기 나오신 여러분들과 달리 저희 할아버지는 일본에서 처음 활동을 시작하셨습니다.
My great-grandfather began his activities actually in Japan.
그래서 제가 지금 한국말로 설명을 해드리려고 하는데 이게 제 영어 실력으로는 일본말에 한국말에 영어까지 해가지고는 머리가 안 돌아가서 이렇게 한국말로 하게 됐습니다.
I'm speaking in Korean because My Japanese is good, but my English
No, no, no,
apparently
no,
is
no,
not
no.
as good.
You know he's wrong, right? 여기 계신 분 아무도 모르실 거기 때문에 제가 간단하게 박용희 선생님을 설명을 해드리겠습니다. 박용희 선생님은 1985년 경기도 파주 출신이시고요. 4대부집안 아닙니다. 중인 집안입니다. 중인 집안의 거상의 아들로 태어나셔가지고 관비 유학생, 1차, 2차 관비 유학생이 있었는데 저희 할아버지는 2차 관비 유학생으로 일본 유학을 떠나시게 됩니다.
So my great grandfather was born in 1885, not 1985. He was from a non-aristocratic family, non-Yangban family, rather from the Jungin group, and he was part of the second class of government-funded students who were sent abroad to study, in this case, Japan.
꽤 특출하셨던 분이라서 순천 중학교라고 일본에서 굉장히 알아주는 중학교를 졸업을 하시고 우등상을 타셨습니다. 그리고 일본에 있는 제1고복에서 졸업을 하시고 도쿄 도다이에서 법대 정치부를 졸업하시게 됩니다.
So he attended a school called Suncheon.
In Korean translation.
That's the Korean pronunciation of it. And he
Number one high school.
From the number one high school.
Number one high school. Well,
And
that's how they call it. Number one, number two, number three.
Okay, and then he was a law school graduate.
He went to law school.
Which at Tokyo Imperial University.
Yeah, and majored in political science.
And he was a major in political science. I don't know why I'm doing this. There's no.
동경에서 활동하신 것으로 봐서는 그냥 가서 혼자서 공부를 하신 것이 아니고 태극 학회라는 학회를 설립하고 같이 임원으로 활동을 하시게 됩니다.
So he was, when he was a student in Japan, he was not alone or working alone. He was part of a group of students, and he helped to establish a student association.
그 태극 학회는 태극 학회, 또 태극 대한 학회, 나아가서는 대한 흥학회로 발전하게 되는 한인들의 큰 집단이었습니다.
The association, student association, was called the Taeguk Association, and that eventually became
대한학회,
대한학회, a student association in Japan. And then the 대한흥학회.
거기서는 일본에 오는 여러 한국 학생들이 일본어를 못했기 때문에 일본어를 가르쳐서 학교에 가서 좋은 수업을 그래서 좋은 성적을 안고 한국에 돌아갈 수 있도록 가르치는 강습소 역할을 하게 됩니다.
The association was primarily involved in helping students from Korea who were in Japan learn the Japanese language so that they could be educated in Japan and then go back to Korea.
뿐만 아니라 거기서는 태극 학교에서는 여러 출판물을 간행을 해서 한인 사회에 배포하는 역할도 하였습니다.
So through the association, the Taeguk Hakkae Association's publishing activities, the distribution of those journals, what you see up there, was part of this community.
그것은 일본에 국한한 것이 아니라 한국 여러 도시와 또 만주 또 시베리아까지 배포가 되었습니다.
So this journal was published and sent to not only Korea but to Siberia and Manchuria as well.
할아버지는 그 간행물을 하는 것과 동시에 거기다가 많은 연재물을 올리셨는데
He wrote a lot for this journal.
그 해저 기행문 줄 베르느의 해저 기행문이라고 다들 읽어보셨으리라 생각합니다. 그것이 우리 박용희 할아버지께서 한국 최초로 사이파이 소설로 최초로 한국에 트랜슬레이션을 전하는 인물이 되시게 됩니다.
Oh, Sonyoung Park should be up here doing this because this involves apparently the first sci-fi story was translate. Did he translate?
He translated.
He translated.
할아버지께서는 여러 간행물들을 트랜스레이트를 하셨는데 이유는 한국인들한테 계몽을 하고 싶으셨습니다. 그래서 첫 번째는 해저 기항문이었고 2,000 miles under the sea or something.
Okay, so the Verne, or was it 2,000 miles under the sea or something like that? 2,000 leagues under the sea.
Yeah.
So everybody here can do a better job than me. I can tell you that. So he did that. He translated other things, and all for the purpose of enlightening, educating his fellow Koreans.
할아버지가 원하신 거는 한국 사람들이 그때만 해도 문명률이 굉장히 높았고 외국 사회의 발전을 너무 몰랐고 한국 사회의 현실을 너무 모른다는 것을 통감하셨기 때문에 한국 사람들에게 서구 문명을 인트로듀스 하시면서 소개하시면서 한국 사람을 계몽하려고 하셨습니다.
So part of this was driven by his desire to instill education and enlightenment, especially greater knowledge about the wider world, and in particular the development of the Western world.
그래서 몇 가지를 하신 것 중에는 해저 기행을 해서 과학 문명을 알리시고 싶으셨고,
And so he emphasized especially the scientific civilization of the West.
그다음에 콜럼버스의 전기를 연재하심으로써 그 신대륙을 발견한 그 외국 열강들이 부흥해지는 것을 알리고 싶었고.
So he, in addition to the science fiction, he wrote a biography of Columbus, and he wanted to emphasize that the Western colonial or imperial powers, through their discovery of the Americas, were able to become great powers, which I don't think is a good lesson necessarily from that time.
그리고 크롬웰의 전기를 트랜스레이트 하시면서 국민 정신 같은 거 그런 것을 일깨우고 싶어 하셨습니다.
So he also translated the biography of Oliver Cromwell, and he emphasized that he was this great national political figure.
마찬가지로 비스마르크를 트랜스레이트 하시면서 그 우리와 같은 처지에 있던 프로이센이 어떻게 그 시기를 극복하는가를 알려주고 싶으셨고.
He translated a biography of Bismarck as well.
And Julius Caesar too.
As well as.
그러니까 그거 재밌으실 수도 있지만 그 당시에 우리 사회에 없던 정신적, 사회적 리더가 필요하다는 것을 갖다가 외국 전기를 통해서 알려주고 싶어했던 그런 분이셨습니다.
So the lesson that he wanted to impart was that through these great leaders, these examples of the great leaders from abroad, that he could help to cultivate the spiritual, the
정신적. 잊어버렸습니다.
She forgot it. The spiritual, intellectual growth of the Korean people too.
어쨌든 이제 대한흥학회는 그 1910년 8월에서 그 일진회를 반대한 이유로 일진회는 한일 합병을 주장하는 그런 학회였습니다. 그래서 그걸 갖다가 전국적으로 하시다가 예.
So I guess back in Korea, the DeYoung, this association, was publicly in opposition to this one very explicitly pro-Japanese Korean organization that was actually calling for the colonization of Korea by Japan, and so.
그러고 나서 이제 할아버지는 이제 법대를 졸업하신 후에 한국에 귀국해서 경성 전수학교, 그게 서울대학교 전신의 서울대 법대입니다. 최초 한국인 교수로 부임하게 되십니다.
So upon his return to Korea, he became the first Korean to be a professor or an instructor at a law college in Korea.
지금 2분밖에 안 남았기 때문에 여기서 다음에 궁금하신 거는 나중에 한번 구글 해보시면 아시겠고요. Google.
I only have 2 minutes left. If you want to find out more, Google it.
집안에 있어서는 저희 가족은 이 할아버지 행적에 대해서 별로 행복해하지 않았습니다.
Oh,
예, 행복해하지 않았어요.
well, actually, in our family, we weren't necessarily the proudest or the happiest about my grandfather.
할아버지는 많은 재산과 노력을 독립운동에 바쳤고 사회사업에 바쳤고 그런 것으로 인해서 집안은 별로 돌보시지 않으신 분이었습니다.
Oh, it's because he donated all his energy and money to the cause of education and Korea's independence. So he didn't leave anything for his family behind.
아니 그런 거라기보다는 이제 가족들에서는 이제 아버지에 대한 그런 기대 그런 것들이 이제 존재감이 집안에서 없기 때문에 좀 가정이 평화롭지는 않으셨던 것 같아요. 밤낮 나가서 일하고 다니시니까. 그렇죠. 그러니까 어쨌든지 저는 저희 할아버지에 대해서는 이제 제사 때 많이 듣고선 자랐는데 별로 할아버지도 관심이 없으셨고 저희 부모님도 관심이 없으셨고 저도 그냥 듣고만 지냈던 과거였는데 사실 김동국 회장님의 그 며느리로 들어왔습니다.
Okay. I didn't really have much of an interest in my family, but it turned out that I became the daughter-in-law of Mr. Kim.
그래서 우리 시아버님 댁에서 그 조상에 대해서 생각하는 것을 보고 많은 생각을 하고 해서 저도 이번에 이제 시작을 하게 돼서 지금 발표를 해드리게 된 겁니다.
So that spurred me to take a greater interest in my own grandfather's activities as
제
well.
생각에는 여러 독립 유공자 가족분들의 그 후손들이 잘 살지 못하시는 분들이 많다고 들었습니다.
I've heard that actually the descendants of these great patriots, a lot of them do not live well.
많은 가정들이 저나 다른 그 유공자님들의 그 이야기를 들으면서 좀 기운을 내서 자기 뿌리에 대해서 자신감을 가지고 자기 스토리로 다른 사람들을 계몽할 수 있게 되는 그런 계기가 됐으면 좋겠습니다.
And so I hope that this event can serve as an opportunity to use the lives and activities of these great patriots and to take that as an example of how we can go forward. Yes.
Mr. Tong Sung Sol would like to ask for 2 minutes to finish his thoughts.
I'll take only 2 minutes. So what I'd like to emphasize, the fact is that the significance of First Korean Congress as the Continental Congress was the occasion where they laid foundation for the United States. It was the First Korean Congress that laid the foundation for Republic of Korea, number one. And there are 3 trivias. The news of the 3.1운동 got to United States by way of Western Union. It was sent from Shanghai by Reverend Hyun Sun. I heard that his grandson is here, Doug. His grandfather sent the Western Union telegram to 도산 안창호 선생, and he in turn sent the telegram to 서재필 and asked for, why don't you immediately go to Paris and help the Korean delegates and do something about 3.1운동. So this is the copy of the Western Union telegram that 도산 sent to 서재필. Number 3, the final day of 3-day convention, it ended with a march from the venue of the First Congress, which was a little theater on 17th and Delancey Street in Philadelphia, all the way to Independence Hall in Philadelphia, where they have the cracked bell, remember? Liberty Bell, okay? And there, they marched through. It was raining cats and dogs, but everybody held a Korean flag and American flag and marched in the rain. And it was escorted by the city of Philadelphia, the mounted police, because they were so sympathetic to Korean causes. And then headed by the city marching band. And finally, when they reached at Independence Hall, they all went to Independence Hall, and Sojepil translated the original Declaration of Independence that was read in Pagoda Park on March 1st, 1919 at 1 p.m., right? He translated it into Korean, English, and had Syngman Rhee read that at the Independence Hall. And what also he did, he had Syngman Rhee sit on the desk where George Washington signed the original Independence. And we have this is the picture. I just wanted to show it. Picture where Syngman Rhee is sitting on the desk where Washington signed the original Declaration of Independence. And here is Syngman Rhee, and right next to is his father, Henry Chung. And I thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah. Finally, I want to recognize somebody. Dr. Philip Jason died on January 5th, 1951 in Philadelphia. When he died, he was buried in a grave, cemetery. At the time, it was okay, but as the time passed, that area became pretty rough. So nobody attended that, and even went there. So without telling me, this person spent his own money to relocate the ashes from that place into a better place, and he was there until he was brought back here in 1992. And that person is sitting there, and I'd like to publicly recognize Jang Ik-tae.
Okay, we are scheduled at 7:30. It's already 8:20. So we wanted to talk all night through, but let's promise another opportunity other than that. Let me say a few words. Okay, thank you very much for joining the event. I believe the dinner event is meaningful to remember our beloved ancestors who committed to nation building, formation, and modernization of Korea. Okay, in honoring their sons and daughters and grandsons, I really appreciate co-organized Dr. Kyungmun Hwang and Dr. Kenneth Klein and Dr. Edward Park and curator Ms. Joy Kim, who has a huge support to organize this event happen. And also I'd like to special member of the program committee, Dr. Hwang, Dr. Klein, Dr. Ms. Joy Kim, myself, and Dr. Edward Park as a member of the program committee, and other distinguished guests. Okay, I also like to mention special thanks to Korean Air, who generously supported the travel to Dr. Suo Kim for traveling. He came all the way from Seoul just for this occasion. He just sort of, it's a lovely thing. Yeah. Okay, distinguished audience for your time and participants. Have a great Easter holiday. Thank you very much. Have a safe trip. Thank you.